Greetings and welcome. Thank you sincerely for taking the time to be here and watch this video. Your presence means more than you might realize. And if you choose to subscribe, know that it would brighten my day even further. Now, let's begin. In a peaceful suburb outside Dayton, Ohio, shaded by mature maple trees and winding sidewalks, Owen and Lauren Bennett lived a quiet, modest life. Not the kind that earned recognition, but one that felt stable, predictable, secure. They had been a couple for almost a decade, married for 7 of those years. Their home, nestled on Sycamore Lane, could have passed for any number of others. 2 stories, beige siding, dark shutters, and a mailbox that leaned slightly until Owen corrected it each Saturday morning, only for it to tilt again by Wednesday. Owen worked at Helix Core Solutions as a senior systems analyst, precise, organized, a man who saw the world through logic and structure the way others saw it through poetry. Lauren, a 3rd-grade teacher at Lakefield Elementary, brought warmth into every room. She had an intuitive social grace, a gift for making others feel seen. Owen admired that about her, even if he didn't fully understand it. Their life together ran smoothly, quiet, orderly, routine. Their love wasn't wild or tempestuous. It settled in gently, ebbing more than flowing. Gradually, things shifted. Her laugh became less common during dinner. Her fingers, once so naturally intertwined with his during evening walks, began to remain at her sides. Her phone, formerly left screen up on the counter, now always lay face down. Their mornings were a ritual, Owen rising at 6:15 to brew coffee in the smart machine he had given her for Christmas 3 years ago, though she never took the time to learn how to use it. Lauren would appear later, sleep-tousled and wearing his old Miami University t-shirt, the fabric worn soft from time. They talked about day-to-day details, the shopping list, undone chores, upcoming Sunday dinner with her family. Small talk, safe topics. None of it touched the quiet turmoil that had started to cloud her gaze. Not until it did. The shift started with Rachel, Lauren's younger sister. After a turbulent divorce earlier that year, she had moved back into their parents' home and started calling Lauren nightly. At first, Owen didn't think much of it. Rachel needed support. But the calls became increasingly frequent and intense. Lauren, once full of laughter and spark in the evenings, began retreating upstairs, closing the door softly behind her, whispering into the phone. "It's just Rachel," she would say, but something else lingered in her eyes. Then came the little signs. Her wedding ring went missing. She claimed she forgot it. She'd set the table for one, then quickly fix it when she realized. A single wine glass, no longer shared. She laughed at texts Owen never saw. The affectionate nickname she'd once whispered at bedtime vanished, replaced with just Owen. He noticed. How could he not? He made a career of spotting patterns, subtle changes, but nothing in his work had prepared him for the moment that shattered everything. It happened on a Tuesday evening. He'd made her favorite, spaghetti with a fennel-laced meat sauce and a splash of red wine. They chatted about her classroom, his backlog of tasks at work, the neighbor's relentless leaf blower. Then, as he reached for the wine, she stopped him, took the bottle from his hand gently. "I want to stay clear-headed for this," she said. And just like that, something shifted inside him, like the floor had tilted. She sat, hands folded, and delivered a sentence that would echo in him for a long time. "Owen, I want to sleep with someone else, just once, to be certain. I need to know if we, is what I want for the rest of my life." He thought it had to be a joke. But there was no laughter on her face, no glint of humor, just stillness, calm. Not unkind, but clinical, as if she were reciting a diagnosis. She used the term ethical non-monogamy as though it were a shared agreement, not something she'd carefully rehearsed in solitude. Owen asked the only question that really mattered. "Who?" The silence that followed was answer enough. But then, she gave the name. "A teacher I met at a Cincinnati conference. We've connected." He didn't yell, didn't plead, just stood up. Quietly walked to the closet, retrieved her suitcase, and began packing her clothes. She followed him, hands trembling around her glass of wine, her voice thin and uncertain. "Owen, can't we talk this through?" But he had nothing left to discuss. When they reached her parents' house, Rachel was already outside. Designer jeans, silk blouse, and a look that tried to appear sympathetic, but couldn't quite hide the satisfaction beneath it. "Owen, I really respect how calmly you're handling this," she offered. He didn't answer. Just carried the suitcase up to the porch, looked at Lauren, and spoke the last words he'd ever say to her as her husband. "You wanted something different? Go find it." Then he turned and drove away. That night, he didn't bother adjusting the mailbox. The silence inside their home didn't feel peaceful anymore. It felt hollow. The next morning, Owen sat in the kitchen, his coffee cooling in his hands, staring across the table. The same table where she had asked for permission to sleep with another man. Now, it felt like the scene of a collapse. Her chair was neatly tucked in, as if she had never occupied it. He didn't reach out, didn't message her. Part of him thought maybe she would, maybe with regret or an apology. But his phone stayed still, quiet. And that was when the full weight of it hit him. She had meant every word. In the days that followed, Owen moved mechanically. He attended meetings, wrote code, reviewed pull requests. He buried himself in logic because the real world had lost its coherence. But nights were hardest. He couldn't bring himself to sleep in their bed. Her scent still clung to the sheets, that familiar vanilla orchid perfume she'd worn since they were in college. In her nightstand, he found a paperback romance, its corner folded at page 230. Near the end. But life wasn't tidy like that. A few nights later, in what used to be her home office, a room they once considered turning into a nursery, Owen opened the bottom drawer and found something never meant for him. A journal, leather-bound, pages filled with her handwriting. And as he read, he met a version of Lauren he never knew existed. June 3rd. "Rachel says I'm only living half a life. I think she's right. Owen's kind, but it's like living with someone half there." August 19th. Ran into Mr. Mitchell again at the Educators Summit. He looked at me like he saw me. I haven't felt seen in so long. September 14th. I don't know when it started, but David makes me feel alive. He understands parts of me Owen never noticed. Rachel says I deserve passion. Owen's hands trembled as he turned the pages. There it was. Not just the confession, but the story behind it. A slow, layered deception. David Mitchell, a high school history teacher from Cincinnati, charismatic, ambitious. They'd met during a professional event, exchanged numbers, then secrets. Messages that danced along the line, deleted before dinner, shared over lunch. She had hidden it until hiding no longer suited her. Owen didn't cry. Not a single tear. Instead, he powered on his laptop and navigated to a hidden directory he had discreetly built weeks before. Around the time suspicions first began to gnaw at him. Within it were screenshots, flagged emails, annotated timestamps, and brief notes. He had been quietly documenting everything, the whispers behind closed doors, the late-night calls, the subtle behavioral shifts. Lauren's muffled midnight phone chats had sparked something primal in him. Now every breadcrumb she'd unknowingly dropped was forming a coherent picture. This wasn't just sorrow, it was a quiet operation of gathering proof. One message stood out more than the rest. It came from Rachel, dated 2 weeks before everything fell apart. "Frame it as growth, not cheating. Say it's for both your sakes. He won't push back. He never does." Another, from Lauren to David. "Sometimes I think about just walking away. Would Owen even stop me? Or would he just keep going like it's normal?" That question haunted him. She didn't believe he'd fight, and in some sense she wasn't wrong. But what she didn't understand was that Owen was fighting, just not with the spectacle she imagined. No screaming, no scenes, no social media fallout. He was methodical, not explosive. Truth would be his sharpest tool. And the version of herself she curated so carefully? That would be the collateral damage. That same day, he reached out to Carter Willis, his old college roommate and now a seasoned divorce attorney in Montgomery County. Carter had handled more than his fair share of imploding relationships. But as Owen outlined everything, Lauren's manipulation, Rachel's coaching, the so-called self-discovery justification, even Carter leaned back, brows lifted. "She actually said that out loud?" Carter asked. "She said it was supposed to strengthen us," Owen answered, voice devoid of emotion. Carter scratched his beard. "And she didn't suggest counseling?" "Nope, she just wanted my blessing." A slow breath from Carter. "All right, we'll move fast. It won't be clean, but it'll be tight." The planning began. No kids, 2 vehicles, a house with a mortgage Owen had nearly paid off alone. Distinct retirement accounts, though his was significantly larger. And Lauren's high credit card debt, run up on spontaneous purchases and trips she insisted on taking. Carter's approach was strategic. Preserve Owen's assets and present an indisputable case, minus any bitterness. "She may try the emotional trauma angle," Carter cautioned, "but if she tries to lie in public, we answer. Hard." Owen's voice was calm. "She's already started." The next day, a message popped up on Owen's phone. "Can we just talk?" "This doesn't have to be ugly." He showed it to Carter. "She's feeling the pressure," Carter said. "Let her sit with it." Owen replied with a single line. "Please direct any communication to my lawyer. You'll be hearing from him soon." That night, a bottle of red wine appeared on Owen's porch. Next to it, a note. "Sorry it ended like this. Maybe we can still be friends." Owen poured the wine down the sink and changed the locks. On Thursday morning, the sheriff handed Lauren the divorce paperwork. By lunch, she had called 3 times. By dinner, 7. He ignored each one until the 8th call came, just as he was plating grilled salmon and vegetables. He picked up. "What is it, Lauren?" A pause, as if she hadn't expected him to answer. "This is insane. We need to talk like adults. It doesn't have to be a battle." His tone stayed flat. "Number. But it also doesn't have to be a marriage." She shifted quickly. "I never asked for a divorce. I wanted us to be open, to talk honestly about what we need. You asked me to accept you sleeping with someone else. That's not communication, that's demolition." "I was trying to be transparent," she pushed. "Number, you wanted to cheat with my permission so you could pretend you were still the good person." Silence. "You're being harsh," she finally whispered. Owen's voice didn't waver. "You haven't seen harsh," and he ended the call. Later that evening, Carter rang with an update. Lauren's lawyer had reached out with a revised version of the separation proposal. "She's demanding half of everything," Carter said, half irritated, half amused. "Wants spousal support, too. Claims she sacrificed her future so you could build yours." Owen gave a dry chuckle. "She had a job. I paid her loans, bought her car, and covered the mortgage. That was her sacrifice?" Carter's tone shifted. "She's also telling people you threw her out, that you're emotionally erratic. She's playing the victim." Owen's jaw clenched. What he felt wasn't fury. It was cold, focused clarity. "I've got documentation." "What kind?" "Emails, messages, phone logs. I even recorded a conversation, her and Rachel planning the whole thing. Rachel said to spin it as growth, that I wouldn't object, and if I did, I wasn't worth staying for." Carter sounded suddenly alert. "You recorded it? One-party consent in Ohio. I was part of the conversation. It's legal. It holds." A beat of silence. "Send it all," Carter said, now energized. "Tonight." That night, Owen became his own forensic analyst. He compiled evidence with surgical precision, created folders, tagged dates, made backups. Messages with David Mitchell, flirty texts, inappropriate photos Lauren had sent during work hours, one in lingerie, sent on a school day she claimed she'd be in late meetings. The worst, an email from her school account to David. "Wish I'd met you before I settled. You make me feel seen." David's reply, "Then stop settling. Leave the guy, he's not even alive." Attached was a shirtless selfie with the caption, "Still thinking about last weekend." Owen felt his stomach twist, but he didn't fall apart. He organized it all into a comprehensive, time-stamped document for Carter. At the end, a note. If she wants war, we fight with facts. The following day, Lauren called again. Owen let it go to voicemail. Please, I didn't realize you had all this. You recorded me? You've been compiling this? He said nothing. Then a final text. You're destroying me. Owen typed one last message. You destroyed us. I'm just keeping the record straight. Then he blocked her. Days later, Carter called with final news. Her lawyer wants to settle privately. No alimony. She keeps her car and personal items. You retain the house, your retirement, and 70% of the joint assets. Owen didn't smile, but he let out a slow, steady breath. Good, he said. She can have her fresh start. I'll take mine. That night, as he stirred a pot of wild mushroom risotto, the silence around him felt like something he hadn't known in a long time. Peace. Lauren used to call it too quaint. Owen caught his reflection in the pane above the kitchen sink. He looked leaner now, harder in the eyes. The man who once kept quiet, who once shrank into silence, had disappeared. By April's middle, the whispers had turned to conversation. The rumor had grown roots. It had crept in quietly, first murmured among parents waiting in the carpool lane, then passed between lockers, and finally spilled into a vague but unmistakable post online. What had once been a private, unsettling confession, Lauren Bennett asking her husband if she could sleep with someone else, just one time for personal development, had become public knowledge in Worthington. The phrase had turned into local legend, repeated with equal parts curiosity and mockery. Owen never had to speak in his own defense. The truth moved forward all on its own. It began with Monica, a neighbor known for hosting wine nights where Lauren's charm usually held court. She intercepted Owen one morning during his walk, earbuds in, her hands buried in her coat pockets. I heard, she said softly, eyes searching his. And, for what it's worth, a lot of us are on your side. He gave a faint nod. Thanks. She hesitated, then added, Rachel caused a scene at the Hendersons the other night. Pretty drunk. Said Lauren was on some self-discovery kick, called it empowerment. Somebody filmed it. Owen didn't ask to see the footage. He didn't need to. By summer, the community had quietly delivered its verdict. Lauren's friends drifted away. Her colleagues kept their distance in the lounge. Even David Mitchell, the man she'd gambled everything for, backed out when he realized this wasn't some thrill ride. He didn't want to stand in for Owen, and to Owen, that was the perfect twist of fate. In the meantime, Owen's life took on a calm, uncluttered rhythm. The air no longer carried her scent. The house stopped echoing with what she used to call productive conflict. He donated the floral pillows, repainted the hall from lavender gray to a strong slate blue. The soft mattress, replaced with a firm one, unyielding like the man he was becoming. He converted the guest room into a full-fledged workspace, dual monitors, a mechanical keyboard whose crisp clicks filled the quiet like punctuation. Lauren used to roll her eyes at that setup. Now it underscored his solitude. In his career, he was thriving. By June, he'd been promoted, lead systems architect, a $15,000 raise and a private office he could close off from the world. His boss, Deborah, pulled him aside one afternoon. You've been sharper lately, more focused. Whatever you went through, it lit a fire. She wasn't wrong. He'd returned to the gym too, something he'd given up when Lauren used to scoff at men fighting time. He'd let her voice steer him for too long. Now every lift, every drop of sweat was a paragraph in the new story he was writing. He wasn't chasing romance. Not yet. Sarah in accounting flirted now and then. Lisa, the neighbor with the easy laugh and recent divorce, brought over cookies and conversation. But Owen wasn't trying to replace anything. He wasn't patching up a hole. He was reclaiming his ground. Alone. And it was working. Then came the call. Mid-July. A Sunday evening thick with cut grass and charcoal smoke. His phone lit up. Lauren Bennett. One ring, two. He picked up. Owen, she said, her voice thin and unfamiliar. He waited. She faltered. I miss you. No sorry. Just regret cloaked in softness. He stayed silent. I didn't think it would actually end, she said, barely a whisper. He responded, voice calm and even. That's because you thought I'd let you keep both. I made a mistake, she said. I thought I needed someone new, but really, I needed you to change. And there it was. That sentence. You needed to change. Not I hurt us. Not I betrayed something sacred. Just, you weren't what I wanted. And that's when it happened, the cold, clean break. The exact place where love used to live was now vacant. I already changed, he said, and I'm not going back. She cried. He let her. Then he ended the call. That was the true ending. 6 months after she walked out, or rather, 6 months after he opened the door and pointed her toward it. The world didn't fall apart. It simply reset. The divorce was finalized on a muggy August morning in a courthouse that smelled of aging paper and final decisions. Lauren sat across from him, pale in a wrinkled blouse, exhaustion draped over her like a second skin. Her lawyer did most of the talking, asking for portions, for pity, for something to soften the fall. But Owen had come prepared. Email threads, audio clips, pictures, a timeline so tight it spoke louder than anything said aloud. When the judge signed the decree, there was no celebration, only something deeper. Closure. A silence he could trust. Lauren left with her car, a fraction of their savings, and a reputation now passed around in hushed tones. Owen left with everything else. The house, the future, himself. He didn't toast the occasion. He simply moved forward. In the weeks that followed, the house continued its quiet transformation. Her cliché wall quotes gave way to bold black and white prints. Her scented candles were replaced by clean, grounded sandalwood. The closet, once half shared, half compromised, now held only the things he chose to wear. He started cooking again. Real meals, the kind she once laughed off as over the top. Duck confit, saffron risotto, scallops seared to golden perfection in lemon-thyme butter. He plated them carefully and ate in silence, not out of loneliness, but out of peace. Truth. He read books she would have sneered at. Atomic Habits, The Power of Now, a Teddy Roosevelt biography that brought tears to his eyes. He finally built the pergola he'd been putting off for 2 years. One glowing evening, he sat beneath it with a glass of whiskey, the sky bleeding orange and gold. That's when Lisa showed up, 2 beers in hand, a mischievous smile on her face. Heard you might actually be better at wiring than me, she said, holding up a busted light. He laughed, really laughed. Not out of politeness, not because it was expected. It was real. She stayed for dinner. It wasn't a date. Just 2 people who'd weathered a storm, quietly sitting in the calm afterward. And that was enough. Time passed. Owen didn't miss Lauren, not in any true way. He missed the image of her, the ideal he'd once believed in, the version of himself he molded to fit beside her, a man convinced that devotion alone could save a sinking ship. But love without respect is a slow extinction, and he was done fading for anyone. The last time he saw her, she stood alone in the produce section. She stared at a pile of organic lemons like she'd forgotten what they were for. Their eyes met briefly, a passing connection, barely a second long. Her face shifted, caught somewhere between surprise and intrigue. Maybe there was a spark of something else. Maybe not. She opened her mouth like a thought had almost formed. He gave her a gentle nod, turned his back, and kept walking. And that night, he didn't speak of it. Not to anyone. Not even to Lisa, who by then had become more than just someone to fill the empty hours. She wasn't a placeholder or a distraction. She understood. Some wounds don't want to be hidden. They just need space to exist. As the season changed and autumn settled in, Owen found himself caught off guard by something unfamiliar. Not love, not joy, but peace. A quiet sort of peace. The kind that comes after everything falls apart, when the chaos dies down and you realize you're still standing. It wasn't the kind of silence that weighs heavy. It was the kind that softly reassures. He wasn't the man Lauren once wished he'd become. He changed, but on his own terms. And that made all the difference. She needed the space to pursue whatever came next, so I gave her all the time she needed. And me? I found something unexpected. Purpose, perspective, and a version of myself I never knew I could be. All without her. And that's where this chapter ends. I'd love to know what this story meant to you. Feel free to leave a comment. Thank you for reading. If this resonated with you, there's more where it came from. Until next time, take care.